a very, very young age, I was molested. From my very early memory in life, one of my earliest memories as a child was seeing a man and a woman having a fight, which I learned later in my life it was my mother and my father, a night that they were getting divorced. The molestation, as far as a child, I think I've gone through as a child some things that a child should never have to go through. My mother being divorced, she was a very loving mother, and but at those times that there were just things that you just did not say. So all of these things that were happening to me was kept to myself. The family unit was very, very strong. Not only the immediate family, but the extended family. My cousins are not actually my cousins. My cousins are my brothers and sisters. We are very, very, very close family, and know quite a bit about each other. But there are some things that just weren't known. At 17 years old, I decided that I needed help, and growing up in a church, and your aunts and uncles, grandmothers, and even my great-grandmother all being around me, I knew that there was something, a part of me, I wanted help. And I kept hearing, you hear from the pulpit that God will take these things away from you. You give it to God, He'll take it from you. He'll take it from you. So I went to God. Through the molestations, there were some very ugly parts that came with it, that some things that I don't really desire sometimes talking about, but there were some issues with men in my life that came up through that, because all I'd ever been around had been men since I was 4 years old. And I didn't want this a part of my life anymore, so I went and accepted Christ when I was 17 years old. And that was with the knowledge that God was going to take everything away. I was driving down the street in a small neighborhood on the wrong side of the road at 95 miles an hour in a 30-mile-an-hour zone. With stop signs, I ran about 8 to 10 stop signs, hoping that another car would come out so that it would kill me. And it never happened. In 2007, I came to Portland, and I came under the guise of going to a school, but actually I just wanted to get away. I just wanted to get away from the area. I was very drug-induced by that time. I had been using cocaine for about 15 years by then, and I just I came out and I met a pastor. I was at a Narcotics Anonymous meeting, and he came in the door, and there was just a little voice in my head said, "That's the one." He just said, "That's the one." And I did not understand what "that's the one" meant, but he was a pastor of a more progressive Church of Christ, and I told him my story. I told him that a little voice told me he was the one. I didn't know what that meant. So anyway, he asked me. He just said, "Well, why don't you just come to the church and just let God love you?" And the one thing that he did say to me that stood out was, you were a victim, and I had never heard that before, and so I thought I'd give it a try. And what the things that God has really shown in my life has just been in relationships. I was very, very wounded in relationships, and it's taken a lot for God to do healing. I just wanted him to take it away, but I think he wanted to show me something else, that he's involved in a relationship, and he wants us to be involved in a relationship. I think, that we can't miss the mark, that yes, God takes us just like we are. We hear the term, but God really takes us just as we are. Just recently, I met this guy named Scott, and he has been a really, really encouragement to me, and is planning a church. and I've kind of gotten involved in it, and it's just showing me that through relationship, God is showing me who He really is, because I'm getting a chance to see Jesus in the flesh. I know that there's no man that's perfect. There's no man without flaws, but in the relationships, we learn to trust each other, and that's where God has me now. I've been in ministries with sexual abuse and sexual addictions as a facilitator, and God is just opening my life. He's been freeing me, and no, I am not completely free, but there is freedom to know the truth, and the truth about God is that He is love, and that He loves you and He loves me just as I am.